A lot of people look at Prince Hall, who was actually a Mason that started Masonry in the United States, but at some point he was supposed to have gone back to England and paid whatever the fees were for him coming to establish, and that didn't take place, and so therefore the charter, his rights to establish lodges in the United States were withdrawn. And so John G. Jones then in turn went and received that legal right to come back and not only establish Grand Lodges, but all the way up into the 33rd degree in the consistory. And so he was given those rights to come back and legally. And that's why there are court battles that have been fought and won to recognize the General Grand Masonic Congress of Ancient Free and accept Masons as a legal authority to operate in these United States. A lot of history is lost because, back in the early days, we had no way of preserving our history. And so a lot of the history was lost as the older generation passed off. But as far as John G. Jones, he really established Masonry on a solid foundation in the United States. And so that's why we have the monument today that's established in his honor. And there are statues of each one of the cognate branches that's placed at the cemetery where he's buried. And C.C. Manigraw also was a man of morals and believed in doing what was right. And if he had to do it all by himself, he would do that. And so as having those two individuals to look back on as our founding fathers, it gives men today a vision that they need to also stand up for what's right at all times and do the things that's right and practice Masonry in the manner in which it was originally established. The General Grand Masonic Congress has two charities that we support. The St. Jude's Foundation, which is a national organization that helps crippled kids, disadvantaged kids, and so the Prince Hall Grand Lodge also contributes to the St. Jude Foundation as well. And then we also have, it's called the Piney Wood School that's located in Mississippi. It's another one of the organizations that we contribute to, because Masonry is a charitable organization and it's about giving back to the community and helping those that are less fortunate, as well as our widows and our offering. And so Masonry does that even still to today. C.C. Manigraw was actually an attorney in Jacksonville, and there was a number of young brothers that was in the organization as well as sisters, and they had aspirations to one day becoming Grand Master. But under the Grand Lodge, it was known that once you were elected Grand Master, you was Grand Master for life. And so therefore there was no opportunity for progression. And so therefore C.C. Manigraw, being the visionary he was, confiscated his charter and left the organization and established the Grand Lodge in Palatka. So that's where the first Grand Session was held. And under his administration, one of those things that was outlined in the declaration was that the women department would be able to govern themselves, whereas under the old regime, under the old Grand Lodge, they were not allowed to do that. They were dictated to as to what they would do, how they would conduct their business. And so with C.C. Manigraw organizing the most recent Prince Hall Grand Lodge, that was one of the things that was pointed out, that the women would have authority over their own business. I've always been a positive person and always want to look at the positive side of things and not dwell so much on the negative, because I believe when you speak positive and you dwell on the positive, you get positive results. And from the Grand Lodge all the way down to the local level, it always tells you to look well to the east as to whom you would elect to lead you. And so that's always important. And so we should never put friendship or favoritism in place when we're looking for our leaders. And so if we always look well to the east, when we're looking for a leader and looking and watching their character and how they conduct themselves, then you will always make sure that, and nothing's perfect, nothing is 100%, but if we do due diligence, then we'll always elect a person to lead us, whether it's on the Grand Lodge or whether it's on our local lodges, a person that has some moral and integrity that will lead us, this organization, and attract good men to also become a part of this organization. And that's why a lot of times you hear Masons say that Masons are looking for a few good men. After the Worshipful Friendship Grand Lodge was established under the leadership of Grand Master C.C. Manigraw, several lodges came with him at the time that he left, along with several of the old Order of the Eastern Star Sisters. And after being established and observing how they conducted business under the leadership of C.C. Manigraw, other lodges also left and came and joined the Worshipful Friendship Grand Lodge because they saw there was an opportunity for growth. And that was what they were really after. And they realized that Masonry was about progression, and under the old leadership, there was not opportunity for that progression. So they came and joined. Under the leadership of C.C. Manigraw, it was established because we came from a dictatorship, a Dickinsonism, that a Grand Master would not serve more than 4 consecutive years. And this way, it shows our youth that there is a progression, that they have an opportunity to become Grand Master as well. And so after a Grand Master has served 4 years, and he's elected each year, so it's not guaranteed he will serve 4 years, but he can only serve 4 years consecutive in the chair. And during the history of the Grand Lodge, we've only had 2 Grand Masters that have served 2 4-year terms. And that was past Grand Master W.R. Campbell and past Grand Master Roland Baker Jr. But there was a break in between their 2 4-year terms, but they have both served 2 4-year terms. And so as a result of that, we have a number of past Grand Masters, and it gives us that base that we can go back to for some wisdom. Because as you're sitting in a seat for those 4 years and you have things on your trust board that you want to accomplish during your 4 years, you're also at the same time preparing those officers that are behind you to succeed and to take the rim as well. Your Deputy Grand Master, your Grand Senior Warden, your Grand Junior Warden. And that's why it's important that you look well to the east, not just in electing the Grand Master, but the others that will come along behind him. And it's always been my belief that if you have no desire to one day become the Grand Master, then you shouldn't seek to be the Grand Junior Warden, Grand Senior Warden, nor the Deputy Grand Master, because then you're holding a slot where there's somebody else has that desire to become in that leadership position. The General Grand Masonic Congress is a 4-letter Congress, ancient, free, and accepted Masons. And at that time, when we came over from the Worshipful Union Grand Lodge, we were only 3 letters, free and accepted Masons. And so it really was that 16 years or 20 years later when they actually realized that we were operating under a 3-letter charter. And so when that was discovered, there were some of the other Grand Lodges from other states wanted to have us expelled from the Congress because of the fact that we were only 3-letter. And so after that was determined, the Worshipful Friendship Grand Lodge that was free and accepted became ancient, free, and accepted Masons of the state of Florida and remained in that Congress. And a lot of times individuals look and say, well, you know, there are a number of Grand Lodges in the state of Florida. And going to the Secretary of the State in Tallahassee and being incorporated does not make you a legal Mason. All it does is give you the right to conduct business in the state of Florida. In order to be a legal bona fide organization, you have to be chartered and be a member of a Congress of Masons. And so that is how you establish. And as the General Grand Masonic Congress of the United States of America continue to grow and establish themselves in other states, 3 charters are taken from 3 separate states and going into those states where we are seeking to establish a Grand Lodge, and they work under the protection of those 3 Grand Lodges with their charters in place until that Grand Lodge is established. A clandestine Grand Lodge is basically what I just described as a group of men getting together, calling themselves Masons, and then applying for a charter from the state of Florida to operate in the state of Florida. And they're really self-made Masons. And so those are clandestine Masons that have not gone about establishing a Grand Lodge in the proper way. To my knowledge, there were no charges filed against C.C. Manigraw in reference to the charter because they were in open session when the charter was confiscated. So naturally, he was an active member, had not been suspended, wasn't suspended at the time. And once he left, he was no longer part of that organization. So therefore, there were no charges brought. And when individuals mention a facsimile charter, it's because the Most Western Union Grand Lodge is actually chartered out of Massachusetts. And so therefore all their charters come from Massachusetts. And so that's why it was called a facsimile. And so for years, the Most Western Union Grand Lodge operated without a charter because they didn't have one, because it was in the possession of C.C. Manigraw. After several years of operating under the Most Western Prince Hall Grand Lodge, there was an opportunity under the leadership of past Grandmaster Yates where the 2 organizations met. And during that time, part of the agreement was that we would give them a copy of the charter that we were in possession of. When men sit down and have a conversation and are open-minded, a lot of things can be resolved. Put away past experiences, put away the hatchet, but remember that we're all men. And so when we sit down to the table and we take all that into consideration, and that was a process that we were in the making of when during past Grandmaster Yates' administration, that we went and met with the Most Western Union Prince Hall, Most Western Union Grand Lodge. And as we were sitting down around the table, men from both sides, understanding how we got to where we were and what it was going to take to move further in a more positive manner, that we knew that there had been a lot of bad publicity, bad blood that had been established on both sides. And so therefore, just as it took time to get there, it was going to take time to unravel all of that has been taking place over the years. And so as younger men come in and we're able to talk to them about what it means to be a man, what it means to be a Mason, because we all have the same passwords, we have the same literature that we're reading and studying, we can do that. And so during that process of sitting down at a table with the Most Western Prince Hall Grand Lodge, they saw that the men that was at the table were serious about coming together and being united as one. And so as a result of that, as a token of appreciation, a token of sincerity, they granted 3 of us honorary Grand Masters of the Most Western Union Grand Lodge. And so they came to our grand session the following year, and we likewise extended to them that same courtesy and gave them also honorary Grand Masters of the Most Western Prince Hall Grand Lodge. And at that time, there was only, I believe, 2 past Grand Masters of the Most Western Union, And so both of them at that time received the honorary Grand Masters from the Prince Hall Grand Lodge. It's going to take a lot of work in order to get it done. I never want to say that anything is impossible. We have to put our egos aside and not worry about who's going to be at the top. There's a job that needs to be done, and it's critical, even right now, as we see the things that are taking place with our young black males, particularly. And if men can come together on one accord, then these things can be accomplished. We're always talking about leaving an inheritance for our future generation. And a lot of times individuals, when they speak of leaving inheritance, they think about materialistic things. But a part of that inheritance also ought to be a legacy that your sons and your daughters are willing to follow and admonish those things that will carry on for years to come. And so there's been talk that by 2040 that Masonry will cease to exist. So unless men that are in position now are preparing that younger generation and being visible so they can see the value that's in Masonry. And a lot of times individuals ask the question, well, why should I be a Mason? Well, I wouldn't know the people that I know now had I not been a Mason. And so Masonry is a progressive science. And so as men, we're always traveling, going from one city to another, from one state to another. And so by having that connection, it gives you an opportunity to also expand upon your horizon and pass that on to generations that yet to come along behind you. And a lot of times we have been accused of being a cult or a secret organization. And I tell anybody that we're not a cult, first of all. One of the things that you're asked when you desire to become a member of this organization, do you believe in a supreme being? And that supreme being God. So it means that we're not a cult. And then when it talks about secrecy, that the things that we know can be found in the Holy Bible. So if you read the Holy Bible, you would know the same thing that we know. The only secret we have is how we identify with one another. And in the organization, if they have membership, that they have a way of identifying with each other. And so that's the only secret there is in Masonry. Anything else can be found in the Holy Scriptures. And so as we continue to build this foundation and want to make sure that we're leaving a legacy and inheritance for our brothers and our sisters that's coming along behind us, it's important that we continue to maintain our morals and our integrity, that we're visible in the community in a positive light so that other individuals want to become a part of this organization.